Yo, what's up, producers? It's your boy Matt. Let me get myself on tube here. Hope everybody's doing well. It's been quite the week once again over here where I am broadcasting from. And give me 1 second here. Let me pop back in the studio. I am tending to one of my puppies at the moment. Give me 1 second. Thank y'all for joining. As always, check in the comments and be sure to join the Music Producer School community. It's free, but you have to join. It's a private community. And be sure to click over there and join us so I can review your tracks. I'm over there on Saturdays after class, and it's been a good time listening to everybody's tracks. So once again, this is Matt from Music Producer School. Sorry, one of my puppies needed a little attention there for a second. So we're going to be continuing part 5 of making a song today. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our trusty session here. And I'm going to play what we've done in just a second. But as always, I want to stress, since we're working on the song on a new day, the name of the song is All I Can Do Is Dance. It's 4.1. So before I start working today, I'm going to do a save live set as. And again, if you are working in FL Studio or Logic or Persona Studio One or whatever it may be, I highly recommend you do this method of doing a file save as. Again, if you're just joining and you didn't see how I do this previously, I save the day as the first number, and then the point whatever number is the version that day. So on day 1, I start off 1.1, and then if I take a break and come back the same day, that becomes save as version 1.2. So we're on day 5 today, so this is now going to be file save as 5.1. And again, it just gives you a good way, if you screw stuff up, to go back. I find I very rarely have to go back and pull stuff from a previous session. It definitely has happened before. But the thing that's more powerful for me is it gives me that freedom to know, like, okay, I don't have to worry so much about screwing something up because I can always go back to a previous version. Especially if you're experimenting with different, say like you're redoing a bass line or a chords or something like that, where you may mess with it a little too much, and then eventually you're just like, man, I should have just kept it how I had it. Well, this gives you that freedom to kind of go and just experiment without worrying too much about screwing stuff up. So I have not listened to this since we left off. So let's see where we're at. And once again, if y'all have not seen the beginning of this or any of the other lessons that I've done, you can go to the Facebook page or our YouTube page. The link's in the comments on Facebook. And I have all of the previous lessons there. We have something like probably like pushing about 40 lessons, I think, at this point. So if you missed any of this, you could just go back and watch what you've missed, starting from part 1. So let's see what we got so far here.
One more day, feels like you threw my heart away. One last chance, let it through, love slip through your hands. And ain't it sad when the tears start coming, falling down like rain? It's like a sickness, you broke me with the quickness of brand new kind of pain. And all I can
right, cool. So I'm liking that so far. I definitely, so what I'm gonna start getting into today is a little bit of shaping what we have so far, because I'm not really big on, oh, I'll just do it in the mix kind of a mentality. I like it to start sounding like a song pretty much from the beginning. So that way, all those decisions that are being made leading up to the final master, they all just kind of accumulate. And if you kind of keep pushing stuff off to the end, it's like, oh, I'll just fix that in the mix, or oh, I'll just fix that later. Or, so I like to start shaping things as I go before I move on to a new thing. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get rid of this first simple piano up here. This was what we had started with. And again, you can kind of, if you haven't been following along, we just started off with these very, very basic 3-note chords. So it's kind of come a long way already. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually get rid of this because I don't want to be distracted by it anymore. We have this melody. I can keep that here for a minute. I'm going to rename this demo vocal. And I'm going to create a new MIDI track. And I'm just going to call it drop B. Because what I want to do is I'm going to put this drop B, the second one that we created, in here. And I'm not even going to put an instrument on this. I'm just going to turn this off. And I'm just going to kind of save that. I'm just thinking of saving that for later at some point. If we do use it, because I like the first drop here better than drop B because it moves faster. So what I want to start doing today is, again, start getting this sounding like a song, because the next main thing that needs to be done is this vocal needs to be redone. I'm probably going to redo that on Tuesday. So not next class, but the following class. And that way, what I want to avoid is starting to build this track up with a whole bunch of stuff without a good vocal in there. Because right now, this is just kind of a placeholder in my mind. I'm not really thinking too much as far as anything but like a rough melody with it. The sound is definitely not there. I mean, I recorded this on just my little blue mic that I stream with. So I'm definitely going to recut this. So before I take this song really far, I want to have a good vocal in there, because it always centers around the vocal. Every song pretty much ever is going to center around that. And I can also use bits and pieces of the vocal, especially in the drop, where it might not just be regular singing. You know, we might chop it up and do some cool stuff with it. So I don't want to take this song too far before I get a good vocal in there. But before I re-record the vocal, because I'm going to be the one singing it for right now anyway, I want this thing to start kind of sounding like a song. So what I'm going to do next is on this drop, let's see if we can maybe get, I'm just going to repeat this drop A since I like that. Let's see if maybe, so like right here, I know I'm probably going to do a breakdown of some sort. So I'm not going to worry about that. Today I'm just going to focus on the drop, and I want to get that kind of sounding a little more like a song. So let me also, while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and start getting a little color coding going on, because as we start building these tracks up, I'm going to start getting some more tracks built up here, and we'll start losing track of things pretty quickly if we don't keep track here. So I usually do my keys in green, and I suppose we can do this one in green since I know that's going to be a piano part probably type of a thing. So I'm putting all these in green. And I'm going to collapse these. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some type of bass so that we can start getting a little movement here. So I'd like to do my basses in blue. And yeah, I'm liking this new Ableton stuff where I can just double click and create a clip here. So let's see if we can find just a very simple bass sound. I'm kind of thinking if I could do like an FM bass. Let's take a listen here. So I'm going to pull the piano down just a little bit so we can focus on the bass here. And let me see if I actually had a finger bass that I created. Let's see if I can remember what the name of it was. I had actually created it myself. That's kind of cool. Let's try this one. So I'm just using my keyboard here to kind of just play around with the sound a little bit. So let's go ahead and copy this drop A onto the bass. And we'll just focus on this first 8 bar section here. And I'm going to pull this up. Get me out of the way there a little bit. Now, obviously, since we're working on bass stuff here, we're not going to need all this high information. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. I'm going to delete this. And then I believe we don't need this. So again, I just copied the piano stuff. So let's see if I can highlight these. I'm going to hit shift down arrow and see if we can bring this down into a more bass tone. All right, let's see what that sounds like with the piano, and I'm just going to mute the vocal first. So there's two kind of methods you can go about doing this with bass stuff. You can just copy the piano or the keyboard, whatever you're using, like I did, initially. But another thing we can do, and again, there's no right or wrong here. We're just kind of experimenting at this stage. I just copied this so you can see it's matching exactly, right? I got my bass notes here, my piano up here. But so I just wanted to show y'all some methods that you can use to get your bass moving a little bit more. So what about if we moved this bass over just one beat? What about 2 beats? All right, not so much here, but I just wanted to show you all that little trick. You can try experimenting with that sometimes. So what I think we're gonna do here is I like this matching, but what I want to do now, and this is another tip for when you get stuck. It's kind of easy to just, copy this stuff, but then you're like, all right, well, what do I do now? So what we can do here, let's loop that. So what we can do here is just kind of squeeze in here, and we have in Ableton the fold switch hit, so that way we're only seeing the notes that are being used. Now, if I want to start adding some little, fun stuff to this to get it moving, what I'm going to do is unfold it, so that way we can get some more notes in here. So something like this. So let's try and push this one on the next chord. And then right here, all I'm going to do is drop this an octave down. Let's try and move this now. So here I'm just kind of moving this up, making a little walk down. And then let's try and do a little bounce right there. Nothing crazy, simple stuff here. All right, so we got this over here. We got a little conflict. Let's see what's happening. I'm looking up here to match with my piano now. So right here, let me see if I can just stick with matching the piano. Get rid of this guy. And sometimes that's all it is. We're just maybe getting rid of things too. Okay, yeah, so I had that thing in the piano up here walking down. That's probably where I heard that with the bass. So we're doing G to E. Let's see what we got going here. G to E, match those up. Yeah, I like this little thing right here. We just need to get this moving a little bit better with the piano. Let's maybe try and just get rid of this note. Yeah, I think I like that matching. Yeah, something needs to happen right there. I kind of like that different bass thing we had there. So the other thing I'm hearing now, and again, this is just part of the process, I'm thinking, okay, this bass is not really cutting through all that well. So let me see if I can find my original bass that I was talking about that I had made. Let's see if this might have been it. Electric finger bass. Okay, no, not that one. I gotta find it now. I got a bunch of them in here. Okay, this is one that I made, but my pitch needs to be changed so I can get it in the right ballpark. All right, no, not that one. Now I do know that I have a finger bass in here that I can use. I know the one that I want to use, but I was trying to find the one that I had created for this type of vibe. Real funk, electro. Yeah, and I think this... Yeah, that was a bass that I recorded. Okay, so let me pull up the one that I'm thinking of that I know is more kind of like what I want. So this is an instrument within Kontakt. If any of you are familiar with that, and let's see, hopefully my Kontakt works since I just updated Ableton. So it's the, I believe, the Scarby or the J bass. Let's see. Yeah, I think this is it. So I'm going to bring my pitch up to get it. There we go. Okay, now I'm hearing it a little bit better, so this will be easier to work on. All right, so again, it's all about experimentation here. What I'm hearing now is with the bass cutting through a little bit better, and unfortunately this is just part of the process. I'm like, you know what? I'm not really liking this too much. So let's try and maybe fold this down. So that way I have all the notes that I know the previous bass line from the piano was using. And I'm just going to try and do something fresh here. So I want to do some short staccato notes like the piano. Let's just see what just some short stuff like this does. Short here. Yeah, there's something we're either going to need to decide here, which is just take the bass from the piano, and we're going to have to just kind of reinforce that, which is fine. Now, another thing I want to listen to is, I know I'm probably going to wind up side chaining this. So let's start hearing, again, I'm trying to get some stuff in the ballpark here. So let's copy my side chain to the piano now and see what we got sounding that with that now as well. So this side chain I'm using is called LFO Tool. This is the same guy, I believe, that makes Serum, which a lot of y'all are probably familiar with, Steve Duda from Xfer. In case y'all are wondering what that is there, that's LFO Tool from Xfer Plugins. Okay, so here's the main takeaway for this lesson, I would say, is I'm going through these iterations of the bass, right? And it may not seem like I'm getting very far right now, But what I'm learning from just kind of sitting here doing this is the following. You have to make decisions as you go. Where is your groove going to come from? Now, as we all probably heard before, oh, well, bass, the bass plays a lot in the part of groove, and that is true. But I know in my head, like I have this vocal in here, and I know that the vocal is really going to be providing a lot of the groove for this. So what you need to think about is the chords, they're doing their groove, right? So that's groove number one. The vocal is doing its own groove, kind of juxtaposed on top of the chords. So what I'm kind of working through here is with the bass, I started off trying to make a groove unto itself different from the piano chords. But what you got to remember is the listener can only really take in so much information at once. So if we have a piano groove going, a vocal groove, and then we add in another bass groove, that's going to be a lot for them to process, and it's probably going to be difficult to pull that off. So what I'm leaning toward right now is just more this simple bass that's going to be copying the piano to just reinforce it, and then I'm going to let this vocal kind of carry more of the groove. So this is very just literally copy and paste the bass from the piano here, but that's the thought process behind what I'm doing. So let's listen with this vocal now and see if that sounds cool enough. All right, cool. So what I like to start doing at this point, now that we have a little bass kind of thing in there. What's up, Yuani? Thanks for saying hello, my friend. So now that I have a little of a bass part in there, it's not anything cool yet. But again, I'm just starting to try and fill out the track. I know I'm going to have a bass for sure, right? So what I'm starting to do now is just fill out the track, because what I'm mainly thinking about is this vocal. When I re-record this vocal, I want to have something in the headphones, and this is especially important for all you producers out there that are working with other artists. You don't want to have the artist come into the studio and give them the whole, oh, this is just a demo, it's not going to sound like this. You want to give them something that sounds pretty close to what it's going to sound like in the finished product. So you don't want to have to make excuses, oh, well, this is not really what it's going to sound like, it's going to be better, just I need to work on it. Like, you want to give them something that's going to be inspiring to listen to. So that's kind of what my thought process is here. So let me go ahead and pull up, let me see if I have any good kicks here I can pull up quickly. So I have a whole bunch of drum racks that are all completely filled up with a crazy, ridiculous amount of drums. But let's see if we can get something quickly in here that'll sound pretty pretty cool. Let's try this also, and let's see which one of these works better. Kind of like this. Like that. Let's try this one. I guess I'm going to go ahead and program this kick in, and we'll see how that does first. So this is going to be just basic 4 on the floor. Alright, I'm digging that. So let's go ahead and pull this over. right, cool. So I'm digging that. So pretty simple stuff here, but I'm starting to build this idea out to where it's starting to sound like something, and just doing that alone is starting to inspire me a little bit. It's making me feel a little bit better about where we're going with the track. So what I'm gonna do here, again, y'all know I love to name my stuff, so I'm gonna just call this kick, and I'm just gonna treat this as my kick track. So I'm gonna actually just drag. I can play all these drums here, but I don't really want to have all these drums loaded up. I want to just keep my session simple. So I'm actually gonna drag this kick out to another track, just out of the drum rack, which is again another reason why I love Ableton. I can do stuff like this where I'm just gonna have this kick separated from my my track. So I can extract chain, and now on this track I have down here, it's just going to be just that simple kick drum. So let me move this down here just to the single. So instead of having these big racks of stuff, I just have this one kick drum now. And also I like this because you can see over here, it leaves me all of these pads to put other samples on. So let's say later on, I'm like, I'm not really feeling that kick, or maybe I need to finish with a different kick. I can just throw it into this same drum rack, and it's still gonna be on my kick channel over here. All right, cool. So let's now get us a little snare action going, or like a clap. Let's see if we can get just something basic here. So what I've done in my Ableton stuff, and again, you can do this in FL Studio or Logic or whatever, take the time, especially if you don't feel like making tracks, but you want to just kind of mess around, go take the time. And what I did in Ableton, for example, I'll show you how I did this really quickly. So Ableton has something called a drum rack, right? Which again, FL Studio has this, Logic, everybody has their own version of like an instrument rack like this, where you can just basically take samples and throw them in. So what I did was I would put in a drum rack, and then in my sample search, I would just type in the word clap. And every clap that I have in my sample library comes up here, and I would just literally highlight all of these claps, and I would just drag them into these drum racks. So that way, when I know I want some claps, I have some drum racks called all claps. And you can see I have 4 different drum racks full of nothing but claps. And that way, what I can do is I can just drag this onto a track, and it's going to load up. Literally, I have 127 different samples of claps on all of these racks. So what I can do is just create quickly a MIDI track right here with my claps, and I know my claps are going to be on the 2 and the 4, and I can just copy that around. And in Ableton, it's easier. I can just loop this section, and it's going to go all the way through. And then now all I have to do is I can just, as it's playing, I can just go up and down, and it's just nothing but my claps. I can literally listen to them in the track. It's pretty sweet. So the idea here would be, okay, the dance floor should be popping at this point, right? Like with the drop. So the idea is you almost want to have people clapping along with it, you know, in the audience. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do, and again, I'm just thinking about this problem solving wise in my head. I'm going to put a snare in there to have something nice and solid and short. But then instead of throwing like a reverb on there that's going to kind of maybe muddy up the mix a little bit, instead of doing a reverb, I'm going to do a clap that sounds a little bit longer, and that's going to actually make it sound bigger without having to put a reverb on there that's going to muddy up the mix. So let's see what these drop claps sound like real quick. All right, those are build claps. Yeah, I'm kind of liking these classic claps. All right, cool. So the same deal here. I'm going to extract. I'm going to extract this clap right here, extract chain. So now I get rid of all those extra samples. And now I have my clap track ready. So there's my clap, right? And I'm going to probably bring that down a little bit so it's not as obnoxious. All right, and then let's go ahead and grab a snare. Same thing here. I have all snares. I just drag it down, and now I've just got a whole drum rack full of all of my snares without having to really poke around a lot through different samples. So the same thing. I know this is going to be on the 2 and the 4. So let's mute this and just kind of flip through some of these a little bit. Start from the bottom. I want something a little bit shorter. Okay, here's some tight snares. Let's see what this sounds like with the clap. See how that almost adds like a reverb to it? So let's listen in the track now. Alright, sweet. So another quick little trick I'll show y'all today before I wrap this one up. Again, I want to remember to label all of these, and then I'm going to start color coding so that way I can quickly look and see. Again, I always do my drums in yellow, vocals in pink, my bass in blue, my keys, guitars, stuff like that I always do in green. So we're starting to build this up, which is good. Now, another quick little trick for this that I just showed you with the drums, I'll go ahead and mute those, is you can actually, instead of throwing, a lot of people think you want to throw a reverb on a snare drum, which you can do, but if you don't get the reverb exactly right, it'll actually make your snare lose a little bit of power because you're almost pushing the snare to the back. So what I like to do often is if I want to get a little more space going, I'll put a clap on there and layer it with the snare, and I'll just put the reverb on the clap. And that way you don't lose a lot of power. You don't sound like the snare drum is being pushed into the background, but somehow you feel this bigger space. That's with the reverb. Let's check it without. Yeah, much drier. And then when we combine that with the snare, I'll turn it off. You hear how it's like you're in a small room, but then all of a sudden you're in like more of like a hall for like, you know, trying to make this song big. But you don't lose power from the snare like that. So that's a pretty clutch little tip. So let's check this out. Alright, so cool. One last thing I want to try here. Ableton has this thing called note length with the MIDI effects, which is pretty cool. So because I'm doing this LFO tool on here and it's creating this side chain, it's cutting the notes off pretty quickly. So what I want to do is I want to see if maybe if I create a little bit longer note here, what that's going to create with the sound, with the side chain effect. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Let's see what that sounds like with the piano. And then let's see if we can go in here with this instrument. I'm going to just solo the bass again. So another cool thing with this Kontakt instrument is I can go in and by hitting these red keys, I can change also the different, like up here they have fret noise that I'm messing with. So it makes it sound a little bit more real. And then I'm going to put this amp on here and let's see what that does. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Yeah, that's starting to sound pretty cool. Let's bring that back just a little bit. It's starting to sound a little realer. The only thing we're going to need to do with the bass now, I can tell, is probably add in some little flurries of notes so it sounds like a real bass player. But this is actually sounding pretty good now. All right, sweet. So let's see if really quickly, since that's actually starting to sound like something now, if we can do a couple little inflections on the bass, make it a little bit cooler. I did that little experiment the first time. It didn't work out, but that's just the way it goes. You got to just keep going at it and you know, keep moving until something moves you. I like this bass sound. So let me get rid of this fold here so we can kind of look at some notes. See what that sounds like. And another cool little trick for bass stuff here is I'm putting in these notes at the same length, but if I shorten them up a good bit, it's going to be just like these little kind of fret hits. And again, I'm a guitar player and a bass player by trade, so I know about this stuff. If you've never programmed bass like this before, definitely think about, you know, don't just copy all the notes the same length. Put in some short little notes like this that are going to be a little more analogous to a real bass player playing. Just that one little note in the beginning right there is going to cue the listener more like, oh, that might be a real bass player. maybe just shorten this one up. And then even some of these shorten a little bit. Let's try and move this up. Again, I'll put a little short kind of. Let's move this over, and then I'm going an octave down, just like a short little thing there. Let's try and move this over here. Let's try and push this note a little bit. See what that does. And again, I'm just kind of putting some random stuff in here, just seeing if it, again, you just don't want that hard, mechanical, computerized feel. Let's get rid of that. Don't think I need that one. Just kind of walking the scale here. Let's try and move this up. And then let's just shorten these a little bit. What's up, Manuel? And then I know we're in the key of A minor, right? So I'm just going to bring this up to an A. All right, so this needs to go back down here. going to do a little quick stutter with it right here. All right, sweet. I like that. So let's now just copy this. I'm going to loop the first section, and that's going to become our second section here. So now I have a whole section of it. All right, let's see what we got now. Okay, sweet. I'm liking that a lot. I'm liking that a lot. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to get rid of this second half, because whatever I do here, I'm going to repeat. So what I didn't expect to happen was when I did this little flurry at the end of the bar. Remember, I told you, I always think, what can I do to change things up, especially after 4 bars, because the listener gets tired quickly. So when we got a new section coming up, do something, some type of little fill. So in this last piece right here, check this out. The way I had it was just repeating. It was just repeating like this. So listen to this last section right here, what it was doing with this little walk. Zoom in for you so you can see it. So we're doing this walk thing, right? Da, da. And then we're going back to the A right here, but we're going back down to the lower octave where the whole rest of the bass line is starting. So again, we do a nice little fill here after 4 bars. We do a nice little fill here after 4 bars, but what about on the second half of the bass line, which is this part I'm working on now? What about when we do that if we take this up an octave now? And then let's also bring our note out a little bit more here. And then let's even bring this up an octave. Let's bring this second note out. What would be cool here also is if I could do like a pitch thing. See if I can achieve it here. Things are a little bit different. In Ableton 10 here, but that's all right. I think we can make it happen. So I'm going to do like a little pitch bend thing here. So I have an idea for this, which I may have to do. Let me see if I have any bass slides in here. I'll have to maybe work on that later. Because I want to do ding-a-doo, ding-a-doo. But we'll get to that. So again, it's just a little thing that's going to cue the listener like, oh, they didn't just copy and paste there. So let's listen to this whole bass line now. With this, especially be listening for this added emphasis on this change right here. All right, sweet. You guys, I think I'm going to stop it there. We're almost hitting an hour. I hope that was instructive for some of y'all as far as, we took this basic piano, 3-finger chords, turned it into something that actually moves a little bit. We definitely still have some work to do on everything, obviously, but I just want to show y'all how you can go from these very simple ideas and just by moving a few things around. You don't have to be afraid to move stuff around. Experiment. Again, that's also the key with doing the file save as. You can experiment as much as you want. If you screw stuff up, you can just go back to how you had it before. But just like this bass line, I hope that shows you how I literally just started by copying and pasting the bass from the piano notes, and then by just moving around a couple little things here and there and not really tripping of like, oh, this is right or wrong, just moving stuff around until it feels good and it sounds good, So I wanted to show you all that process. We definitely still have a lot more work to go on this thing, but I'm feeling good about where it's headed. It's starting to sound like a song. So when I do these vocals, I think I told y'all I'm gonna cut them again on Tuesday. It's gonna be more inspiring to listen to in the headphones for me when I actually sing the real vocal for this. So I hope y'all enjoyed that. I will see y'all back here on Saturday. Don't forget to join the Music Producer School community. And if you've missed any of these lessons, you can go to the Facebook page and click videos. All of the previous lessons are there for free. Or you can go check out our YouTube page. The links are in the Facebook comments for all of that stuff. All right, you guys, y'all have a great day. I'll see y'all on Saturday.